Gordon been out to travel early this morning, mate. Got to go and see the plumber. Good morning from Yami BTV. Wishing you all well, sending plenty of love your way as usual. And many a tear has to fall, but it's all in the game. Blah, 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 blah. Right, early morning subjects. And it's a big one, really, in reality. Why is it that the prison officers, as we used to call them, screws, wrap up and restrain some legendary big names whenever they get the chance, and why not others? Uncle Yami gives it to you straight. Now, looking back in history, right, over the years, we knew a bit of my story. In the early days, when I got wrapped up as a kid, I didn't really like it. It was a horrible feeling when you don't fight back and they're still back kicking the shit out of you and taking all your clothes off and throwing you in the strip cell, right? One time I was crying, boy. It's horrible having all your clothes taken off you. We could look into that with many possibilities as to why I would feel like that, or many of us would feel like that, and they run out the strip cell and leave you naked on the floor. And that's when you're not fighting back. But hold on a minute. Over the years, I saw some of these men that we talk about, and many more, right? I saw them from the beginning of time. And firstly, I'll point to in the 80s with Tony Argent. He had a big row with the prison staff in Wandsworth, and it was very difficult to do at that time. The only difference is they didn't really want to fight Tony at that time. So it was because Tony went for the lot of them. So they never really had no choice, right? Now, if I break it down, right, to certain names from all over the country, going through history, and we talk about Kevin Lane in the early days, with Kev when he first got his bird, he was fighting with, he fought with staff a good couple of times. Now, I see the psychology of it all, because you set the pace early. You know that, listen, if you mess about with me, I will have it with you, and I will have it with you properly, right? So as years went by, when Kevin got into any skirmishes or anything like that, they would come to his door with all his shields and everything, but they would let him walk to the block. Not come charging in like some men and wrap him up and, you know, like violate him and make him feel victimized and blah, blah, blah. So a third through that life sentence, Kevin could walk to the block without any harm, if you get what I mean. Same with Tony Argent. Tony Argent's had fights in front of him. They've wrapped up the other geezer that he's fighting with, but they wouldn't put their hands on Tony Argent. They used to come piling through Tony's door and say, Tony, look, can we just put the handcuffs on, right? And Tony said, yeah, put the handcuffs on, blah, blah, blah. No jumping on him. No violation, no victimization. With Gary Nelson, the early part of his so-called criminal career, when I first met him, he would have it with them. And the way that he had it with them was like nothing, because remember, I witnessed it, certain things with my own eyes. You would understand that they would not want to go in there too often, basically. So for most of his time in those institutions, even through heated moments, through heated fights with big name fighters and criminals, etc., when they came for Gary, same thing. Talk to him first through the smile. Gary, we're going to let you walk and da-da-da-da-da. Yes, same thing. Warren Slaney, Charlie Bronson, Charlie Lawson, who was a household name as well for fighting with prison staff. The reason why I say they jumped on these men, particularly Slaney, is the unpredictability. Is that they've seen it too many times when they come for Warren and he pretends he's going to walk and he goes crash, right? So they know in history we have to take precautions now. When we go for him, the best thing to do, they'll dive on him and wrap him up straight away, right? That's the way it worked most of the time with Warren. Other times, of course, it would be handcuffs and depending on what staff are on duty. With Bronson, it's quite plain and simply unpredictable. legendary for fighting with staff. So the first thoughts on their mind will go straight in and we'll dive on him. We'll use all our powers that be, the shields, security, everybody going in all at once. So there's no bargaining, no talking. Charlie Bronson was over that kind of negotiation. Charlie Lawson, straight in, dive on him. Charlie could have a right row in the early days, right? Liverpool Sam Cole. No. You never, ever wanted to jump on Sam Cole. For whatever reasons, can fight back, power, in the way that he does it. I don't know about his early days, whether they would have tried it then, but it's fair to say that on many occasions during certain incidents, so I hear over the years, when other things were going on around him, Sam, look, blah, 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 will you walk and da-da-da-da, yes, I'll walk and that. Don't come near me and I won't come near you. Now, Shane Taylor, another prime example of unpredictability, done some serious things and had some serious battles with staff. He's not going to get many chances, is he? They're going to go diving straight in for protection, to keep it so that, you know, the staff are at less risk. So they're not going to give him no chances, like Slaney, to be unpredictable and switching them halfway down the corridor. Now, other men. Now, or furthermore, what does it all mean? What it all means is, as well, your face fits as well. We spoke about it on the live last night. When you've got you're in certain power circumstances and situations, in those CATAs where they look at you as, you know, kind of bigger than the rest, that also plays a part in it. Now, Slaney's not known as running the whole wing as a gangster, like selling stuff, barreling. You know what I mean? Slaney, it is what it is. It's a warlord thing. He doesn't really get involved in things running around the wing. You know what I mean? If anything, Slaney, people, the dealers and all that, will do their stuff and make sure Slaney gets his dinner. But Slaney won't be going to collect it and all that kind of stuff. That's not his game, right? Bronson's not known as a big gangster figure where they feel like, well, you know, if we kind of jump on you, there's not going to be many people going to be backing you in the background, and you know, they're not going to get too much of the ump. You know, you don't hold that kind of personnel with the real hierarchy of the category A's. Now, Kenny Noy, Terry Adams. I've had run-ins with staffs and debates with governors and things like that where they answer back. Terry used to have fallout with the governor in Long Larton and all right, put her in a place. The same woman that Phil Curry had murders with. But they wouldn't jump on Terry, would they? You know, one rule for one and one rule for all. Is it really fair? You know, because certain men have got the power. The only man that I know in history they never jumped on, even in childhood, all the way through his ex-criminal career, was John Gray. They never, ever put their hand on John Gray. In the heat of battles while everybody's fighting, while he's arguing with 8 screws, while he's threatening, allegedly, back in the day, to take hostages and things like that, you still never jumped on him. Not even a suggestion. John. It's weird, isn't it? How they deal with certain people different from others. You know, there's always the bit where you dare put your hand on me. I'll send people around your ass, mate. I've got the know-how and I've got the intelligence. I can't remember them jumping on Massey either, which is interesting. Because I don't think Paul Massey would have suffered all that. People jumping on him. I used to hear certain places when they used to crowd him out and whatnot and come for him, Paul Massey, and things. Unless you lot remember something different a bit more further back, you never jumped on him either. You negotiated. I heard with the Sayers, same thing. Same thing with the Sayers. When they used to come for them, they didn't jump on them when I was in roundabout, or I just missed them, roundabout that same time. Negotiations, right, lad? Or is it because they know that they can bargain with you and save their self? Maybe they think that you know, by having a proper conversation with you, they can talk you down. And, well, the simple thing would be then, well, if you're the men that I spoke about, you'd say, well, yeah, don't put your hand on me and everything's cool. All right, everything's cool. You walk to the block. I say it's more the psychological power that you hold outside and inside as well that I can get you done. Or when you're in the CATA system, you move around a lot. You might get me shipped out this time if you do all that to me, but on the rerun, I could also put a hit out on YouTube. Not saying that they would, right? But interesting, very interesting. Now, when they done it to me, Barry Chapman, right? Mate from Manchester, they always jump on Barry, jump on Steady from Manchester. Steady used to laugh as well. They never jumped on Keith Stewart too easy, mate, from Manchester either. But the story with me, right? Oh, you jumped on me in the early days as a kid. But in the category A's, the reason why I was at the piss and I was a liberty taker and whatnot, and I set up, listen to this one, because the 3 times they tried to jump on me, didn't they? I made sure that I was out in public when the beef and the arguments were going to take place, whether it could go off, i.e. the visiting hall, down on the association room, running on a bit of graft across that wing and doing all that. And then they got us around. The 3 times they tried it with me, everybody joined in. So there was a couple of times after that, and I'm not no big gangster, a couple of times after that, right, there was 2 times where I thought, right, I'm going to go and do what I'm going to do. And they were just about to jump on me, and the senior officer, Governor, came and said, listen, leave it. Leave it. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's set up the situation so we can do it all out here, and then we'll blah, 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 and that. So even on the times you could come and got me in the cell after those scares that you had, where people joined in for me, because you don't really want a full-scale riot on your hand. I was lucky with certain things, boy, because I know they wanted to wrap me up. One time I was out holding onto the bar, and I didn't want to go, but I was after someone bad. And then we're going to talk about men going over and get on the nonsense wing to do hits as well. I'm going to do that one as well. But I hope I answered that question you asked me yesterday, right? First one of the day. I might have 2 or 3 to do today before I travel again.